Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of the BengeBuster Show, coming to you from the studios in Mooresville, North Carolina. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BengeBuster Show. My guest this week is none other than a great Carolina wrestler by the name of Zane. Zane, how you doing tonight?
Hey, brother, I'm so happy to be here, Tony.
Man, it's been a while since we've seen each other.
I know. I've always considered you to be a really good friend from even our early days as tag partners.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We'll talk about.
That's right. We actually was I like your first tag team partner, like one of your first matches?
Yes, you were. Not only now, you were my very first tag team partner ever. And that was my first match that I ever had.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was. And then when I re-debuted, you were my tag partner that day too.
Oh, that's right. Golly, I've been like your first for everything there, huh?
I know, you've been popping my cherry, Tony.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't even aware. that I was your partner, or your tag team partner in your first match. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was. And you've always been a good friend to me ever since day one, and I appreciate that.
Well, I feel the same way. It's like from the first time we met, we had chemistry, and I've told you this before, and I'll say it here online. When I first met you, you remind me so much of me when I was starting out wrestling.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. I mean, you caught on so quickly, and quicker than most people that I've been in the ring with.
I still got a lot to learn, that's for sure.
Well, we all do,
That's right, we all do.
I hear it from so many legends. They say, you can be in the business 30, 40 years and you still learn something new. And when you stop learning, it's time to stop wrestling.
That's right. You never stop learning, and that's anything in life.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just wrestling. You always keep an open mind. Always try to learn as much as you can.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this: what got your interest, or what got you involved in wrestling to begin with?
So I've loved wrestling my entire life. I grew up, watching it, and my father would have it on TV, and I remember, like, for years I thought, wow, this is so cool, but only some people will ever get a chance to do it. And then I remember I was getting to be in my teenage years, and I thought, man, I wonder if I actually could do this. And we used to always do the backyard wrestling, and let me tell you, Tony, I wish that I had listened to the "Don't Try This at Home" warnings that they would always play on the television shows, because, man, I'm paying for it now.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a whole promotion almost. I mean, we had, we were just backyard wrestlers, and I was kind of booking at the time too, and had a pretty big part in the, I call it a company, but it was hardly that. But after a while, I started to think that, like, man, this could really be something for me. I felt like I was more, I guess prepared mentally to try than I ever was before. Because before I would just say, no one, that's a 1 in a million possibility. So then fast forward to when I came home. I was in the military for a while, and then I came home from that, and I didn't really have anything going for me when I left. And so when I got back in the States, I remember I was hanging out in Hot Topic one day, because I had a friend who works there, and she said, hey, we have a friend. She had a mutual friend who was already in the business. And I thought, man, this guy, like, he wrestles in a real ring? I mean, I thought that was cool, because I had only wrestled on a trampoline before when I was, a teenager. So
right.
I thought that was like, oh, man. So then she tells me, yeah, it's a guy named Cord Montgomery. And and you know Court, and we've
Oh,
been
yeah.
friends for we've been really good friends for many years since this time. This was 2013, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells me, yeah, I finally meet him. He tells me, you know, we hit it off right off the bat. You know, it's we already have a common love for wrestling, and just, you know, we have a lot in common in general. You know, music, video game tastes. We just have always got along really well. And so he told me about Pure Pro Wrestling, and he said, hey, go there, speak to Jimmy Love. And so I did. I went there about a month later when they were close by in my area, and I went to the show, and I spoke to Jimmy. He gave me a deal. He said, if you will come and you'll help set up the ring, you'll help put out flyers, you'll referee, you'll do anything that we need you to do, and I'll help you. I'll train you. I'll do what I can for you. And I tell you, Tony, like, we all have people who we look up to, whether it be personally and professionally. But I can't thank Jimmy enough for what he did to me. He'll always have kind of a top spot with me,
Right.
because he gave me the opportunity to train and to live a dream that I thought for a long time was impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see these guys on TV, they're superstars. And when you are a kid, you're just so idolized by these larger-than-life characters.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, and it was a really cool opportunity. And I'm to this day, I'll still shoot him a text and just say, hey, man, thank you. I really am thankful for that, because, you know, I can't imagine the road I would be on if it weren't for wrestling.
Yeah, and you know, one thing, Zane, I'll tell you, promoters like Jimmy Love, they're few and far between. There's not a lot of promoters out there that really care about you as a person. A lot of them just want to get your money for training. They might use you on a couple of shows, and then they shuffle you around, and then you're lost in the mix. And you know, some guys like you and me that are talented, that pick up on wrestling and learn it easy. You know, even if that promoter forgets us, we know enough that we can go somewhere else and kind of live our dream there. But that's the one thing about Jimmy that I think about a lot. He's a smart promoter, because a lot of the workers or wrestlers that he has that work for him are ones that he himself has groomed and he's trained, and so therefore he knows that he can depend on those guys, you know, to be there when he needs them. Like you said, he'll put out flyers or put up the ring or sweep or whatever it takes. But yeah, I'm like you. I can't say enough good things about Jimmy Love. He's such a great guy.
Yeah, he's like a father figure to me, and I really am thankful for everything that he did for me.
Yeah, and now getting to Pure Pro Wrestling, I know you were there for a long time. What is like some of your fondest memories of working for Pure Pro Wrestling?
Oh man, how much time do we have?
Man, we got all night. Let's go.
So Pure Pro Wrestling has always been like home to me. It really has been. That's where I got my start, and I think some of my favorite. And now this might sound a little cliche, and I'm sorry about that, but
no,
it's
not
true.
at all.
One of my favorite things about Pure Pro Wrestling is the brothers I've made from the dressing room, and friends that outlast wrestling. You know, if I were to leave the business completely, I would still have some really great friends, regardless of wrestling. And that's
Right.
That's one thing about wrestling that people can't really understand unless I think they have experienced it for themselves, is that wrestling truly is a brotherhood, man.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, Zane, one of the things I've told Jimmy this on countless times, but one of the things that I love the most about getting to work a show with Pure Pro Wrestling, and I know that you've seen this plenty of times, but a lot of independent locker rooms you go in, there's cliques. You know, you look over one corner, you got this group of guys that you know they're all buddies, and they're not going to talk to nobody, and they think they're better than everybody in that locker room. And then you got this, you know, you got another group over here, and that group over here. But when I walk into pure pro wrestling, I don't feel like there's any cliques there. I feel like everybody is like there to help each other.
Yeah, it's a good environment to be in. And now I will say though, I've been accused of being in a clique before, but I think that's just because me and so I'm just gonna give you, if you don't mind, a shout out to my buddies.
Go right ahead.
Montgomery, Kyle Camilla, and Ivan Ali, because we've been up and down the East Coast, on the road, teaming with each other, fighting each other. We've done it all together. And we were often accused of being a clique, but we were just we were close friends. We're brothers,
right?
You know, if we're best friends, of course we're going to sit beside each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand how someone would see that, because I guess from the outside looking in, I guess it could seem as if because we were around each other so much that we were kind of a clique. But we don't think we're better than anybody else.
No,
you know, we're there to live our dream just like everybody else was.
Right, for sure. And you know, that you know, all the times that I was in the locker room with you guys and worked with you guys, that thought never came across my mind. As a matter of fact, you know, working with you guys, I felt like I was a superstar because you guys were asking me advice, and I'm like, geez, guys, you guys have already passed me up. I'm just going to follow whatever you guys do, you know, because you know, you guys are just so talented, and you guys picked up on this business so quick, and you know, Court, you know, like you say, he's a great guy. And one of the things I remember about Court, he always marked out for all my wrestling gear that I had.
Oh yeah, oh man, we love gear. We were texting earlier today about a pair of boots that he saw that he'd never seen before, and I was like, man, those are sweet. We love talking about gear, man. We really do.
You know, a funny story about Court and I. One night, I was on eBay, and there was a pair of boots, and I was like, oh, I like them boots. So, but the guy didn't want a lot for them, so I thought, well, you know, I can buy them, and if worst case scenario, if they don't fit me, I know I can resell them, and no worries. So I'm bidding on these boots, and next thing I know, somebody else is bidding too, going back and forth. Well, finally, I said, okay, I'm out, you know, and Court was the one I was in the eBay war with, and I didn't even know it. I get back to the show, and he tells me, I was telling him, I said, yeah, I said, well, I saw him, and he had the boots on. I said, man, those boots are so cool. I said, you know, about a month ago, I was trying to win a pair of boots like that on eBay. He said, wait a minute. He said, well, are you kidding me? And then we realized that he and I were in a bidding war against the same pair of boots. How cool is that, you know? And eBay is worldwide, so you know how ironic is it that two guys that know each other are in a bidding war for a pair of boots?
You're 200 miles apart and bidding over the pair of boots.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That was awesome. We laughed about that for a while. So now, get you know, keeping on talking about Court and Callis and all of them. I've actually worked this one show with you guys, but in Charlotte once a year you guys do a really big show, which I think is really good for the community and for the kids. It's called Sober Slam. Tell us about that event.
So Sober Slam was originally produced by New School Wrestling, and it was just an event held at a rehab center. And the idea was for these kids who were having personal struggles in their lives to have an alternative of something to do, a form of entertainment, something that was positive for them to invest their time in. And I remember the first time I ever went to one was, I believe, the second Sober Slam. I think it's been going now for about 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
And I was there at the second one, and I was in a hardcore match. It was a 3-way hardcore match for what at the time was the New School Wrestling Cruiserweight Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was me, and I was facing Court in that match, and another guy who I can't remember off the top of my head, but sorry about that. But it's
there's too many guys.
We had I remember going out there, and let me tell you this, Tony. I know you've seen a lot of hot crowds in your day, but wow, I mean, these people were the most electric. It was the most electric audience I've ever heard in my life. I would compare it to like a concert for like a rock band. It was that energetic, that powerful, that amazing.
And the cool thing about those kids is they looked at us, as role models, and they looked at us as big stars, even though maybe we're not big stars, but to them we're like better than a major star on television.
Yeah, it was so cool that they thought so highly of us and showed us that much respect and appreciation.
Yeah,
it was really, really cool.
Well,
they still do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't worked on the last two, but the last one I worked on, I believe, was like in 2016 or 17. But I remember I worked Leo Riker on that show, and I think you guys had a tag team match that was like hardcore street fight or whatever it was. But man, you guys done some pretty amazing stuff in the match, because I sat over there at my gimmick table and watched the whole match, and I thought, man, these guys are killing it, because the crowd, because you guys were the last match, but you would have thought you guys were the first match because the crowd was red hot the whole time.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Well, that match, I'm telling you, was brutal. I mean, not just was it the physicality of the match was brutal, just the intensity of it. It was a really, really, really violent match. And actually, I went to the beach. I remember that. So we did that match, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and it got a great reaction. And I remember the next day, I got in the car with my family, and we drove to the beach for a family vacation. And so when you've been in a hardcore match, man, you're going to have some bumps and bruises.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I got down to the beach, and, at the beach, who wears shirts at the beach,
Right.
So I'm out there looking like I just got out of a car accident. I've got welts, scrapes, marks on my back from, like, the kendo stick, and being hit with a ladder. I looked like I had just been hit by a car and walking around the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And you would not believe the looks I got, Tony.
Oh, I can imagine. and getting to that part of the bumps and the bruises and everything, so many people, and I'm not trying to be on a soapbox and point fingers and just be rude, but at all. But so many people will watch wrestling on TV and go, "Oh yeah, that stuff's fake." But I assure you, and I promise you, the average guy could not get in the ring and do a quarter of the things that some of us do, and be able to walk the next day.
Oh, not at all. I actually just had that conversation with one of my best friends last night. She was watching Raw on television, and she said, "Man, that looks really cool. I want to do that." And I was like, "Well, are you sure about that? Because, this isn't an easy career."
Mm-mm.
And she says, "Yeah, it's all fake, right?" I said, whoa. Now, I always compare it to a magic trick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't know how it's done, but if you did, it would take away the illusion of it.
Right.
And I'd also followed up by the point, now, we've spent a lot of time together, and I said, "Don't you remember seeing me after a show the next day, after a weekend where I'm hitting multiple shows?" I said, "You've seen me before. There've been days where I can barely walk from the toll that my body's been through, and so you tell me, do you think that it's fake?" And she quickly saw it my way, and that was that. But I think a lot of people just don't understand, because they've never been in the situation for themselves. They just go off of what they've heard or read on the internet.
Right. Yeah. Now, growing up and being, everybody gets into. I always say this: every wrestler gets into wrestling because they had someone that they looked up to. That they had a star on TV that that they liked. So when you were a teenager and you were doing your little thing with your friends on the trampoline and stuff, who was the wrestler that really got your attention and made you say, that's what I want to do one day?
Oh, I absolutely did. And I think that this person I give credit for more than just influencing me as a wrestler and as a performer, but as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain why. That person was Jeff Hardy. I would see Jeff Hardy and I would say, wow, this guy, he's fearless. He creates these incredible moments. He sends electricity through the crowd, and wow, I cannot believe the reaction that this guy gets. He's a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
But what Jeff taught me through just being himself on television was that I didn't have to grow up and be this cookie cutter guy that people would say a common man would look like. Mm-hmm. You can be yourself, and you can still be cool. And as a young kid, Tony, I needed that lesson.
Right. Yeah.
And so I remember, like, when we would do our backyard wrestling, and I would cut up socks and like put them on my arm and wear them like his old armbands did, because when I first saw Jeff, that was I think was the peak of like when I was like really into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to do that for a long time, and then looking back, like I wonder how my life would have turned out if I didn't have that kind of influence to encourage me to be myself and to just not worry as much what other people think and what society expects me or a man to be. I can just be me and still be cool.
Right. Yeah.
And it really came kind of full circle last year. I actually got to meet Matt and Jeff. I was on set for, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a WWE Network special where it was the House Hardy Halloween ball.
Yes, I saw that, and I saw a guy that reminded me of you.
Was he a handsome guy wearing a gold mask?
He was, yeah, exactly. I was like, man, I know this. I know this guy.
That was me, and that was such a cool experience. And I don't really, I don't really mark out anymore, Tony. But I will say that I was really appreciating that moment of just being able to talk and work alongside somebody who I once idolized.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great feeling.
It was a cool feeling.
Mm-hmm. I know how you feel, because I was like that growing up when I was, a little kid. I guess the wrestler that really got got me liking wrestling, of course, later on was the Rock and Roll Express. I guess they were probably the biggest influence I had as a 10, 11-year-old kid. But even before that, when I was about 8 years old, Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant he was like The Rock. I'm telling you, Jimmy Valiant was so popular when I was a kid.
Yes, he was.
But and I loved him. Everybody loved him, and he was always one of my favorites. And then when I was like 20 years old, I had he was wrestling at a local promotion there in Thomasville, North Carolina, and I walked into Kmart, and there he sat, and on TV I'm thinking, there's Jimmy Valiant. But when I met him, he was just such a down-to-earth, lovable, even more lovable in real life than he is on television person. And I went over to him and I said, hey, I've always wanted to be a wrestler. I said, I know I'm too small, because I was like 120 pounds, 125. And he's like, son, don't ever let anybody tell you can't do something. He said, because when you let them tell you, you let them control you. He said, and no one controls your life but you. And he said, and if your dream is to become a professional wrestler, then I want to help you make your dream come true. And here 26 years later, here I am, and I'm really good friends with him. I've told several stories on this podcast of how he's influenced my life, but I won't get in that tonight on your podcast. But Jimmy Valiant, I know you know him really well too, and what I'm saying is true. I mean, Jimmy has helped so many people, live out their dreams. There's got to be when the day comes and he goes to the to the big place, they're going to have a special room just for him, because he's just a great guy.
Oh yes, he really is. Boogie is a great guy, and he's so nice. He's so humble. He's so kind, so generous. And I remember the last time I saw him was last year at a Comic-Con. I was working the Comic-Con because we had a ring set up and we were doing wrestling there later. And I remember that was a cool experience too. I was in the ring in a 6-man against Billy Gunn and Tommy Dreamer. It was pretty cool.
Oh man, yeah, that was awesome.
I remember earlier in the evening, I was looking around at the different booths, and I saw a couple people there. I think Sergeant Slaughter was there. I saw Stro, Maestro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a great guy. I
saw
him, and we've been friends for years too. And I saw Boogie, and Boogie, who was sitting at his table, had people coming up talking to him, recognized me. And it's really cool when this guy's met hundreds, thousands, potentially millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to recognize you as somebody that he knows and that he likes, it's a really humbling experience. And it was so cool. I had a great time talking to him. It's always great to see the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah, and he always has, something really cool to say to you, some really good advice,
yeah.
and you can be having the worst day possible and just walk up to him. He always hugs you. He'll give you that big warm hug, and any problem that you might have in your life, it goes away there for a bit, because Jimmy just, I've known him for 26 years. I have never seen him upset about anything. I remember one time I was doing a show, and I brought him in. This is probably like the third or fourth time that he and I had spent time together, and I had put on this show, and I was trying to make it perfect. And I had some guys get in the ring and before the show, and they were running the ropes, and they ended up breaking the ring. And I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my God!" And Boogie's like, "Tony, just calm down." He says, "It's no big deal. We just won't run the ropes tonight. It's no big deal." I'm like, "How do you not have a match where you run the ropes?" He said, "Trust me, kid." He said, "We're gonna be fine." He said, he told this guy, he goes, "Go over and get some chain, and you go over and get this." He said, "I'm gonna show y'all how to fix this ring to where you can't tell it's broken." He said, and we'll be able to do this whole show with no problems. And you know what? He was right. We did with no problem at all.
Well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But like he never gets upset. I wish I could be more like him, but I'm such a perfectionist. So when I'm part of something, if it doesn't go the way I think it should, I get so down on myself. I'm like, God, why did I do that for? When really, I should just let things roll off of me. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit better at it. But I'm still such a perfectionist at everything I do, and I'm trying not to be that person.
Well, Tony, you're only human. I mean, we all are. Nobody's perfect. If everything always goes right, we would never learn anything.
That's true. Now, as far as like your wrestling career, now when you first started, you weren't Zane. You wore a mask and you were the Blue Cyclone, correct?
That's right.
I mean, I love that little gimmick though.
Looking back, I loved it too.
I mean, it was good.
It was really so. Let me tell you. So I approached Jimmy, and I said, "Hey, Jimmy, I've got an idea for a character." I said, "My name is going to be Heavy Guns. I'm going to walk out there, and I'm going to wear camouflage, and I'm going to try to do things that I can't do, and I'm really going to get a big reaction." And I don't know what I was thinking. I was a dumb green kid, and even bought a pair of camouflage shorts to do for it. And he said, "No, brother, I've got an idea for you, and we're going to try it and see if it works." And so he pitched it to me, and I thought, what am I, the Blue Blazer? Come on, that's kind of lame. But then I started to think about, I could continue with this idea that has no real shape that I had thought of, or I could give it a chance with an open mind and see how it turns out. And so we did it. And I remember I went out there. My father and my brother were in the audience, and they filmed, and they couldn't believe what I was wearing. But I went out there, and I think by any time you really put your all into something, I think the fans can tell.
Oh, yeah.
So by doing that, and by really trying to put some effort into this character, I think it started to get over.
Oh, yeah, definitely it did.
And what happened was I kept losing. Finally, I'm wrestling Court Montgomery again. We have this ongoing rivalry for half a decade now. When I'm wrestling him, and we have this really competitive back and forth match. Steve Carino hated it, but anyway. So anyway, we do this match, and I remember after the match we shook hands, and the fans embraced it out of respect. Well, then we started becoming a team, and we teamed for a few months, and then we're still not having any success for a team. Well, I can't take it, and I turn on him, and we have a ladder match for the final contract spot in Pure Pro Wrestling. There was one spot left. Everyone else had already resigned, and that was our story. And we went in there, and we had a great ladder match, and I lost, but it was a great way to bring the character full circle. He debuted in December. He lost in December.
Mm-hmm.
He was brought in by that guy, by Court. He lost to Court. And at the time, it was a really special night for me. And the reason that happened was because I had bigger plans. I had bigger ambitions. And I thought, why have a two-dimensional character when I could be a three-dimensional character?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did lose the match, and I came back a couple months later as Zane Wolf was the name I had adopted since. And I was no longer the Blue Cycle. And let me tell you, Tony, you wrestled in a mask before. Man, if you wrestle in a mask, wrestling without one is a breeze.
I'm telling you.
See better. It's not as hot.
Nope.
Oh, it's great.
I remember I worked a show for George South down in South Carolina several years ago, and this was, I want to say this was probably like 2005, 2006. But we were still kind of around the war. The war was kind of ending, but everybody was still embracing the all-American person or whatever. And so
right.
we're at this big huge show. It's like in South Carolina somewhere. I can't really remember now the town, but it was a show like it's a bit like a big community show where like the whole town was there. It was like an all day festival kind of deal where they had the police department was there, like showing everybody how they go like go like get bombs, things that might be bombs. They had them there. They had the fire department showing how they rescue people in cars. I mean, it was just a really big show.
Sounds like it.
But on that show, George was like, okay, Tony, I want you to dress like the like the Patriot. You're like the all-American guy. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. Well, now Zane, there was probably close to 4,000 or 5,000 people there. I mean, this place was packed.
Wow.
Huge show. And but the cool thing was the police department or somebody came back there and they're like, hey George, we got all this candy that we want to give the kids, and we don't really know how we need to give it to them. And he goes, oh, give it to my Patriot over there, he'll do it. I'm like, oh, well, I said, what am I supposed to do? He goes, just go out there and give the kids candy on your way to the ring. Now this show was in South Carolina, like in July or August. I mean, it was very hot.
Oh, brother, you talking about heat. And
I got the hood on, and now I got to go out there and give all this candy to all these kids. And so as I'm walking to the ring, they're playing, Born in the USA. I'm walking to the ring, and I'm like, oh my gosh! Well, I had like these 4 big grocery bags, and they're packed full of candy. So I'm like handing out one piece at a time, and all of a sudden all these kids realize, hey, he's got candy, and I get mobbed. And if you and like if you ever go back and watch some of the old WWF, there's a video of Hulk Hogan riding his Harley into town, and like the whole town descends upon his Harley, and he's like almost about to fall off of it. That's how I felt at that point in time, all these kids. Wow. So finally I just end up just throwing the bag of candy and getting in the ring. But getting back to the mask, in that match, I know what you mean, because I'm in there, got the mask on, and it's like 110 degrees already outside, so it feels 200 inside the mask, and I think and I think my match, I worked with one of Georgia's guys, super great guy, easy to work with, just like yourself, and we had like a 15-minute match. But when I got back to the locker room, man, I felt like I was out there for 45 minutes. I remember going into the locker room and collapsing on the floor and trying to get the hood off, and the masked superstar Bill Eadie, or Acts of Demolition, he's there, and he's like, "Brother, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to get this hood off." He goes, "Brother, I've been wearing a hood for 40 years. I know how you feel." And I was like, "Man, it's so hot." And but a lot of people don't realize that. But when you wear those masks, and you're out there wrestling a 5-10 minute match, it feels like you're out there for 60 minutes or an hour. Over an hour, because it's just so it's so hot.
That's right, Tony. Yeah. Hey, speaking of George South, do you remember that show we did at like a rib festival on Independence Day?
Yes, I was about to bring that up. You were still the Blue Cyclone, and you and I worked that match. Yeah, it was in Faith, North Carolina, for their 4th of July festival.
Did you know that we had a Vine from that? Now, you remember Vine? It was like 5-second videos or whatever.
Yeah.
And you gave me a pile driver, and there was a Vine of it. And
really?
I think for the day, it was like one of the featured sports related Vines of the day or something.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome. So what happened? So what happened? Some fan watched it out there and made a Vine of it. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's just a small clip. You gave me a pile driver, and the referee was a kid. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like,
oh my outlaw. That was it.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think that guy does those shows there anymore. He hasn't caught. Matter of fact, that year that the year that you and I worked, that was the last time I was there. He had another one like a year later, but I couldn't make that one. But I don't think he's doing them there anymore. I think they've stopped.
I hadn't seen George in years.
Really? Yeah. I worked a show with him just about 3 weeks ago. I worked a show for George down in Denton, North Carolina, and he had Jimmy Valiant on the show, and Boogie told George, he goes, "You got to book Tony because he's on when I'm working." So I was there on the show, and it was a good show. I enjoyed it.
Oh, cool, man.
George and I go back a long ways. I've told George this, and I'll tell people on the podcast and yourself too. But the very, very first live wrestling match I ever saw was George South against Rocky King.
Oh wow!
My dad. Oh, it was awesome. And like I told George, I said, George, I don't think I've ever told you this. I said, but you and Rocky King were the first wrestlers I ever saw wrestle live. He said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "Nope, not." I said, "I can tell you exactly what you both were wearing in that match." He said, "There's no way you know." I said, I know. I said, "You came to the ring wearing a red tuxedo type jacket." I said, "And you had red trunks and red and white boots." I said, "And Rocky was wearing Carolina blue trunks with some red boots." He said, "My gosh," he said that sounds about right. He said, "I can't remember what I had on." I said, "Well, I do." I said, because getting to go watch a live wrestling match for the first time in my life, I said I just remember everything right to the T. And I said, I can tell you almost all the matches on that show. I said you guys started out. I said then I think Arn Anderson wrestled Sam Houston. I said, then the main event was Ric Flair against Dusty Rhodes. He said, he said that must have been like 85. I said, yeah, it was 85. And he said, wow. He said that was the good old days. I said, yeah. I said, I loved it. I said, the crowd was so hot. He goes, yeah, and back then you didn't have to work hard. He said, because,
oh yeah.
He said, especially Greensboro, because that's where it was at, Greensboro Coliseum. But man, the Greensboro crowd was just so hot. It was crazy. I mean, if people today never got to go see a live NWA wrestling match in the Greensboro Coliseum or the Charlotte Coliseum, you totally missed out, because man, the crowds were just so hot, and like you just didn't. I mean, fans would jump the ring. I remember in there one night, Nikita Koloff was wrestling Magnum TA, and Ivan jumps in the ring and gets Nikita disqualified, and some Mark jumps over the barricade, hits the ring, and jumps on Ivan's back before the cops even knew what was going on. That's how quick it was.
Wow.
It was a crazy time.
Wow, yeah. It's a different time back then. That's right.
It's not like it is today. And kind of touching base on fans jumping in the ring. Did you happen to see the fan jump in on Bret Hart's Hall of Fame induction?
We have a group chat of me, Court, Callis, and Ivan, and one of them sent a video to the group chat, and that's when I heard about it. I did not watch the Hall of Fame live, but I heard about it shortly after. Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's okay. It's just I know he had that stroke a few years back, but
right.
I don't know a whole lot about his health, but I do know when that Mark jumped in the ring, I don't think Bret had time to react, because I don't think he even knew what was happening. But thank goodness.
Well, didn't he attack him from behind?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just classless.
Yeah, he jumped in from behind. But from what I saw online, the guy got what was coming to him. He got his face bashed in pretty good.
Well, hey, that's karma for you.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had that happen to you in any of your matches? A fan jump in the ring and challenge you?
Well, you know me, I never was a fan favorite by any means. So they all wanted a piece, that's for sure. But I remember it was actually maybe in that hardcore match at SoberSlam, where it was me and Ivan Ali versus Court and Callis. I think actually a fan got in the ring that night, and I was just posing on the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Ivan Ali, that's a big guy.
Oh yeah, he's huge.
One of my best friends and my favorite tag partner. No offense.
Oh no,
and
no offense taken.
and he pushed that guy down halfway across the ring, and he learned his lesson really quick. It's just you got to know your boundaries. I'm not going to jump on a football field and try and score a touchdown.
Right.
They're pro athletes at work, and you don't want to get in the middle of that, because if you do, well, there's a good chance you might get hurt.
Yeah, for sure. I've me, I'm always the bad guy. I've actually had that happen several times. As a matter of fact, one time I had so much heat in this little small town that I had to get a police escort out of the parking lot of the place.
That's heat, bro.
And it wasn't even I didn't even do it. I was there. I was in this tag team, and my tag team partner was kind of green at the time, and the guys we were working against, he took the chair and he hit the guy with the wrong side of the chair, and of course opened the guy up. Well, I also had hit the finish was I was supposed to hit the guy with the championship belt, and then we get disqualified. We beat up everybody, and then we leave and build up for the next week. Well, we wasn't even supposed to get the chair involved, so I come in, I hit the guy with the belt. Referee sees it, DQs. We start beating up the guy. The referee tries to pull us off. I beat up the referee. Then a babyface was supposed to come out and chase us away, and blah blah blah. Well, the referee was kind of he wasn't smart. So I hit the referee, and the referee don't go down. And I told the ref, I said, you better go down or you're going to go down my way. And and so the referee came at me again and was like, you guys need to stop. So I was like 24, 25 years old at the time. And so I shot on this referee, beat him up pretty good. I gave him the super kick, the Shawn Michaels super kick. Gave that to him. He didn't go down for the first one. So the second one, I gave it to him, stiff. He went down. I got on top of him and started punching him in the head. And I told him, I said, if you get up, you'll regret it. I said, stay down. So he stays down. The ref stays down. And as I'm beating up the ref, my partner goes out of the ring, gets a chair, comes back in the ring, and whacks this guy in the head with the chair. But of course, it's the wrong end of the chair. Well, the guy drops like a dead sack of potatoes. And I see this. I'm like, and in my mind, I said, that chair shot didn't look right. Definitely didn't sound right because it didn't ring. It was like a thud. And so my partner goes, pick him up. We're gonna spike pile drive him on this chair. All right. So my partner goes to pick the guy up, and the guy's not moving. And I look, and like blood is spewing out of this guy's head like water out of a faucet. And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, did I? And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, did I stiff him with that belt? Because maybe I'd done that. Because but I wasn't thinking about the chair, And so I told my partner, I was like, man, forget this. I said, let's get out of here. Well, by that time, the boy's mom's at ringside. She sees the blood going. She jumps in the ring, and then I guess half of his family was there on the front row. They all jump in the ring. Well, we jump out, and we go to the locker room, and the promoter comes back there and says, Tony, whatever you do not leave this locker room. I said, what's going on? I said, I need to check on Donnie, make sure he's okay. He goes, no. He said, the cops are on the way. EMS is on the way. Donnie is out cold, and there's a chance he's probably bleeding to death. He said, because I've never seen that much blood in my life. I'm freaking out, right? Because now I'm thinking I'm the one that done it. Well, they finally get him up and get him back into the locker room. So I'm like one of the first ones to rush over to make sure he's okay. And he's like, oh, I'm good, brother. I was just selling out there. What? You were selling? And so he's selling. He's making his mom and everybody out there think that he's about to die and he's about hemorrhaging to death. Although he did have a good gash in his head. He had to get staples put in his head, and we later found out that the chair hit him at the wrong side of the chair. But by that time, his family they were out there, and so they built up the crowd and got the crowd going. And it was a country town where they still believe wrestling was real. So next thing I know, the promoter comes back and says, hey, Tony, listen, I'm going to sneak you guys out the back door. There's a cop out back, so I'm going to walk you to your car, and then he'll tell you what to do. And I walk out through the cop, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? He goes, get in your car, and you keep driving. No matter what, don't stop. And so I got in my car and pulled out, and the cop got behind me, and the cop got in front of me. And like all these people were running out of the building chasing. I looked back in my mirror and I could see it, and I was like, my gosh. And my partner was fine. Like he was still in the building and nobody messed with him, but they were on me because they thought I did it with the belt.
Right.
It was so funny.
Well,
but,
hey, thank goodness he's okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, but that was like one of many times that he's went to the hospital. He's a tough guy. Matter of fact, I just worked a show with him this past weekend, and he's not taking stiff chair shots like he was, but he's still doing it. Great guy though, great guy. All right, let's see what else. So when you were doing the Blue Cyclone and you decided to change over to Zane Wolf, what gave you the idea for the Zane Wolf character, or is that just pretty much you being yourself turned up?
Well, that was the idea. It was they say that the best characters are always just extensions of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought, well, how can I bring my, what's special about me that I can bring to wrestling? And it took me a long time to really figure it out. And in a way, I still haven't. But at the time, I remember what really made a lot of money in wrestling recently, and I thought attitude, so that was really my mindset going in, to just go in with a whole lot of attitude. And I ended up, in my opinion, now, granted, I'm not in the Greensboro Coliseum, but for the level I was on, I actually felt like I had a pretty good run in my spot in the company.
Oh yeah, most
And
definitely.
I was really, I really had a lot of, I never felt like one of those guys that was just, stagnant, just showing up and doing a
Mm-hmm.
job. I felt like I arrived with purpose. And then I became the company's first cruiserweight champion. And that was such an honor because that was the first championship that I had won.
Right. Yep.
And so taking that title, that kind of molded another side of my character. I became Captain Cruiserweight. I had my own pilot, and I was doing all of these exotic things, and all of this was actually true. I had a friend who he was a pilot, and I could get on any flight I wanted to, and could go anywhere I wanted, and and really felt like I was living the life of a champion at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And then
you actually had that built a long time, right?
a long time, about I think it was about 3/4 of a year, maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
And I remember, who knows how long that run would have lasted, but tragedy struck. I got hurt. I remember I was this guy was giving me a back suplex,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to backflip out of it and try to hook him for midnight, which is my finishing move. And before I could backflip out of it, he dropped the suplex, and I came down right on my head, neck, and shoulders. Tore my arm, separated my shoulder. I was probably concussed as well, and finished the match fairly, and got to the back, and I was just white as a ghost, Tony. I remember I couldn't like, I was so hot, I couldn't breathe. I was like dizzy, of course, and my arm was in pain. I couldn't hardly move it. I remember I had to have people help me get undressed out of my ring gear,
Mm-hmm.
and and um, and of course, back then I thought that, well, I'm a champion. I need to continue being a champion. So I ended up only taking about a month off from this serious injury and coming back way too soon to try and compete again. And I lost the title shortly after. And I just really felt like I never was the same since, because to this day my shoulder still gives me problems. I don't know if it'll ever be the same.
Yeah.
I went on to have another run as the cruiserweight champion, and I got to do a lot of other cool things as well. But I'll never feel physically as good as I did before that injury happened.
Yeah, I know how you feel. That something similar to that happened to me one time. I had a guy was supposed to slam me off the top rope, and instead of putting me down, he launched me higher, and I came down on my head and shoulder, and I ended up spraining my neck, shoulder, and rotator cuff. And I'm like you, after that, I like I'm reluctant to what I let guys do to me in the ring. But on the same sense, I'm like you. I don't feel the same as I did prior to that injury.
And we're young, and we thought that we're invincible, and we thought that we had to put it all on the line and keep going, because if you stop, then you could lose all of the progress that you've made for yourself. And
Yep.
if I had just been a little smarter and taken time to actually heal, I could have came back even better. But I just was young, and I had to learn that mistake the hard way.
Yeah.
And I really did cut back a lot after that happened.
Yeah. Now, also didn't shortly after that, you and Ivan become the tag team champions?
We did. That was at the later part of my I guess what you would call my consistent career, because at the time I was still in a town every weekend. I was still working as much as I possibly could, but I was starting to burn out a little bit mentally. And I had other things going on too that I just wasn't really sure if I needed to keep wrestling. I thought maybe I should take some time away to try and heal physically and mentally.
Right. Yeah.
And I just started to get to a point, and I'm sure you've been there too, where you just kind of hate wrestling it for a little bit. You just want to have some space from it. And if it wasn't for Ivan Ali and me having that run as tag team champions, I may have who knows? I might have left wrestling for good or for a really long time. But I had so much fun because we're some of the closest friends, and we just had great chemistry, and we had a really good run as the champions. We had a lot of fun, and thank goodness for that, and thank goodness for him. I love him so much, and I tell him all the time, or I try to tell him all the time, how thankful I am for him and for that run, because I think it really did save me from leaving wrestling for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
And after we lost the tag team titles, I took a little bit of time to heal and to recover, and took a very limited amount of bookings up until I think Sober Slam. I wrestled there, and then I did that Comic-Con, and I did just a couple other spot shows here and there, and then since then that was pretty much the start of me becoming a part-timer.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, and Zane, I think for me, I've been in the wrestling business now like 25, 26 years, and I'm like you. I love it. It's like one of those things where it's in your blood, and it's going to take something really big to make you stop. But you also need that break sometime to kind of like hit the reset button, and take a little break and breathe and look at your life around you. Like for me, I've taken time off wrestling because I've become a father, and I want to spend time with my kids, and
right.
and that kind of thing. But after taking a couple 2 or 3 weeks off, I start missing it, and like, okay, I got to start calling up these promoters and let them know, hey, I want to get back in it. I want to get back in it, and I know Jimmy has been wanting me to come back to Pure Pro Wrestling, but I'm just so busy. I got so much going on. I haven't had a chance to figure out what dates I can come, but I'm hoping to get back there in the next month or so. Because I'm like you, I love working there at Pure Pro Wrestling. Again, they always make you feel at home, and the crowds are so hot there in Pelham. I think Pelham is probably my favorite building to wrestle at for Pure Pro Wrestling. I know they wrestle a lot of places, but you always have that favorite building, and mine's always been Pelham, because the crowd there is just, they're in it from the beginning, from the first bell to the last bell.
Yeah. Pelham's it's a good location. It's kind of in between, a couple cities, and so it always did have a good crowd. And I haven't been to Pure Pro Wrestling in a couple years now, so I'm going to assume that it's just as much fun as it's always been. But it's always been home, and it always will be home. I love that Pelham arena, and yeah, we had a lot of fun there, Tony.
Yeah, we sure did.
And you're right. You're right. You can never really walk away from it completely. I mean, you always start to miss it. You start to think about it. Even though I'm not actively competing as much today, I still think about ideas, about like, well, maybe when I come back, I can do this, or I could wear this, or who knows. And I think that when you're in the business, you're in it. You never can be. You talk to people who are in it. Some of your closest friends are in it. It's never something you can really walk away from. And I'm just so blessed, going back to how we kind of started the conversation, I'm so blessed to even have the opportunity to do it in the first place.
Yeah, I feel the same way. You know, a lot of times I consider myself so lucky because most people my size um, didn't, you know, they wasn't professional wrestlers. They were, you know, they were putting the ring up or they were putting out chairs or whatever. But you know, I thank God for the promoters that, you know, that took their chance on me when I was very tiny and didn't look like a wrestler. But once I got in the ring, they're like, oh my God, that little kid can really get the crowd going. He knows what he's doing. He's a good listener. Um, and I think one of the things that helped me the most was when I was younger and I'd go to these shows and trying to, you know, get my foot in the door with these promoters after I was trained. They would look at me first and go, "Yeah, I don't know about this kid." But then once I get out there and they could see how I could work the crowd and excuse me, and work the match, you know, their opinions definitely change really quickly. And that's why I said, you know, when I first met you, how you remind me so much of me because your work ethic in the ring was exactly the way I was when I first started. Like I could tell that you didn't have a chip on your shoulder, but you definitely wanted to let them know that your heart was in it 120%. You know.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, Tony. I really am thankful for all of the kind words you've given me. And anytime I've ever been somewhere, another promotion that I'm really fond of is RWA. I think they're coming up on their 3rd year anniversary pretty soon. So they haven't been around as long, but they have really big shows, have some really big names. And I remember being on the first show, and it's really cool to see them continue to have success after you know, after all the work that they've put into it too. And you know me, Tony, I'm old school. I like to do things that, you know, to the best of my ability and work together. And I like to have the best match that we can, not just for me, but for the company.
Right.
And I think that, like, you know, when people are, you know, hesitant to take a chance on you, well, that just gives you all the more motivation to work a little harder. And I think that can really apply not just to wrestling, but to anything in life.
Yeah.
You know, go big or go home. Make a statement and show why you are worthy of doing the job that you've been assigned to do. And doing it well can sometimes lead to some pretty big rewards. So
yeah.
I just try to keep that mindset and that attitude whenever, you know, whenever I'm doing something. I try to do it as best as I can to not only work out well for me, but to work out well for the event, to work out well for the promotion. We're a team. You know, the world will try to tear us down enough, Sonny. We got to work together,
right?
Because we're a brother.
Right. That is so true, Zane. Because it's like, you know, when you walk into a locker room, you know, me especially, I know exactly when I walk in that locker room if those guys are here for themselves or if they're here for the show. One of the things I can't stand is to be on a show and a promoter will walk over and give and tell the guys what they want, and then those guys tell the promoter what they're going to do. And you know, to me, that's so disrespectful because that promoter didn't have to bring you there; he chose to bring you there. So regardless, I may not always like what the promoter has me do, but dadgummit, when I get in that ring, whatever he wants me to do, I'm going to get it over. You know, and one of the things, and I'm not bragging on myself or nothing, but I remember I worked for this company one time, and he was wanting me to do all these different characters, and I would do them. And at the end of the year, we had our little end of the year award ceremony, and I wasn't expecting to get any kind of award that year, and I was just there having a good time, you know. And I got Performer of the Year award because he told all the guys, he said, I ask everybody to do stuff, and I can tell, you know, some of you kind of guys kind of do it half-heartedly. He said, but this guy that's getting this award, he said, I give him a gimmick and he gets it over regardless. I know he hates it, but he got that he got it over, and that's what makes a good performer, regardless of whether you like it, whether you don't like it. You make it work, and you know, and that's always been my mindset, regardless where I'm in wrestling or my real job, my full-time job or whatever, I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability. That's why, whenever I brought you down, the time I had the job at that sports complex, even when I was working at that sports complex,
good times.
People loved me there just because I was, outgoing, and did I like that job? Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite jobs. But it wasn't always, fun. I mean, I had to, there was a lot of stuff there I had to put up with and I had to do. And, but at the end of the day, I made it work. And I think that's like the number one goal in life that everybody should kind of have, is regardless whether you're a wrestler or whether you're a door-to-door salesman or whether you're a school teacher or whatever it is, whatever your job is, do your job to the best of your ability, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, as far as, how hard and how much time that, or effort that you put into your work, because you get out what you put in.
That's right, Tony. I believe that life is all about balance. And, at the end of the day, this is a business. And I just think that so many people have egos, and I think it's important to leave those egos at the door, man, because they really don't benefit anybody. Mm-hmm. And I think that also, though, on the flip side of that, I do think that it's important to sometimes not be a pushover, and don't let people take advantage of you, because sometimes they will.
Oh yeah.
So that's why
sure.
I just think that balance is so important. Understanding that being a professional, because we are in the business of professional wrestling. Being a professional, Tony, I think means sometimes having to do things that you have to do instead of always doing things that you want to do. And I think being a professional is honestly the most important part of being a professional wrestler. It's all about balance.
Right, and taking care of not just yourself, but everyone around you.
Absolutely.
Now, Zane, in closing, I just wanted to ask you: do you have any matches planned coming up?
So we've got Sober Slam coming up in the summer. I believe it's at the end of June, and honestly, that's really all I have lined up. I'm really taking this time because I had a lot of personal problems, and still do have some personal things that I deal with sometimes, but I am doing everything that I can to take care of me. And I tell you, that's a lesson that I learned way, way too late. And so now I'm taking care of me. I've been exercising more often, and I'm getting in better shape. And who knows what's going to be on the horizon. But as of right now, all I've got lined up is the next Sober Slam. I'm not going to say that that's my last match, but for the time being, that's the only match that I have in my future.
Well, that's going to be an awesome show. And you tell that promoter that Terrific Tony only lives about 15 minutes from that building. If you guys are still doing it in the same place in Charlotte, and I'll be more than happy to come up and do whatever he needs me to do. But
sure, I'll let him know.
But no, seriously, I know that show is it has a great cause, and like we talked about earlier, and definitely I know it's a really important show, but mostly for the kids, to get out there and relinquish some of their built up aggression or energy or whatever you want to call it. But it also gives us, or you, the wrestlers, a chance to help out the community. But not only that, but to perform and do the thing that we love, which is wrestling.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know where I would be in life without wrestling, and I'm so thankful that the fans of Sober Slam appreciated the way that I appreciated it while I watched it growing up. And when I go down there in Charlotte for this event, there are people who still recognize me from the last year, the year prior. It's only an annual show. It's
right.
Not something that happens like weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. It's an annual thing, and there's only been over the years a handful of of consistent people who have been at SoberSlam. I think there's only one person who's been at more SoberSlams than I have. I've been in almost all of them, and I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's true.
Right, and I'm sure you're right.
You know, I've been so blessed, Tony. I really have. I've been so blessed to do some cool things and meet so many cool people and experience so many cool experiences. And you know, there's no amount of money that I would trade all of that in for. None at all.
Right, and the cool thing, Zane,
so
is you know, you have got to A, live out your dream, and B, you got to live out your dream with not just your best friends, but some of the best people in the business that have been, you know, to the big dance. I mean, you know, I think it's totally awesome that you got to work on the for that Hardy House thing. That
for the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you know, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've you know, I'd be a fool to ask for more.
Yeah, it was so great. Well, Zane, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you coming on my show, and man, it was so great catching up with you. I really miss being on shows with you and hanging out with you. We're going to definitely have to work that out sometime.
That's right, Tony. I miss you and I love you, and I really appreciate you having me on your podcast as a guest. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, brother.
You're welcome, my friend. I love you too, and I'll see you soon.
I look forward to it, my brother.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another edition of the BENGEBUSTER Show. Please make sure that you tune in each and every week as we will bring you more exciting stories of professional wrestling.